Okay? Thank you. Good afternoon, namaste. Afternoon session, post-lunch. So, quick question first. How are we doing with our energy? On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the highest, measurements, we're going to talk about that later as well. How are we doing, 0 to 10? 7? 7? Generally 7? 7 sort of allows me to go forward, but is there, I don't want to make you stand up and exercise and so on, so is there some breathing or something that you can do, energizing at your seats itself, just to make yourselves get to maybe 8? Yeah, can you do that? Okay, thank you so much for your cooperation. My name is Sharbari Purkayastha, and I'm CEO founder of Big Impact Consulting Group, which I started this year. I come to you with extensive previous experience as academic director as well as business head, helping education institutions to create great outcomes. Impact is very close to my heart, and I like to help institutions and learners achieve impact, personal, professional, institutional, through a system, through processes, and through great relationships, through attention to detail, right? And today I'm here to speak to you about creating impact in education. Creating impact is both an art and a science, and it all begins with what we call efficacy, which basically means desired and measurable outcomes, achieving desired and measurable outcomes. For those of you who are familiar with the term efficacy, you will know that when efficacy is used as a tool, you are able to actually achieve it. It's actually quite simple, you know, and we've done this time and time again, where you achieve the outcomes that you want simply by taking the actions, the appropriate actions that will take you to the outcomes that you want, right? And therefore, you identify outcomes, you take action, and thereby you achieve outcomes. Now, you need to fall into a virtuous cycle in order for this to happen, right? A virtuous cycle for this, not a vicious cycle, a virtuous cycle for all of this to happen. And what happens in this virtuous cycle is that you start with the target outcomes. Efficacy, this is called the efficacy cycle. You start with the target outcomes, you pin down what outcomes you want. Then you set up the measures and the tools. What will you measure and how will you measure it? Then you set up the systems and processes that you need to use in order to get to the outcomes that you want to achieve. And you train and prepare the people involved. If I could have everyone's attention, please, I would be very grateful. Thank you. Now, all of us in this room, as leaders in education, we know that achieving outcomes may be very simple when it comes to just testing, improving the test scores, but what about the full school? Even the test scores, even the learner outcomes, learning outcomes, or any terms that we use there, are dependent on a whole lot of other things that are happening inside the school. And we know that they fall in the areas of learning, teaching, environment, or the climate, the school climate in which the child is operating, and operations and management. So this is the full school which actually leads to learner outcomes. And this is what we at Big Impact study. We come to your school and we look at each of these categories. We score each of these categories on parameters within the categories, and we figure out where are we doing really well so that we can repeat them, and where do we need to pay a little more attention. Now, why do we do this? It leads to all kinds of outcomes, right, for the school. For students, it's better environment, it's better learning. For teachers, it's more satisfying teaching. It's more getting closer to their own vision and mission for themselves. It improves the environment and the operations and the management. It leads to better branding for the school. It leads to better results for the school. It leads to more number of students for the school. So this virtuous cycle of efficacy, and within that, this overall impact study that we do, is something that helps us to take the school towards the dream school. And that's why we call it the Dream School Project. I've talked about how we study each category. We then create the report and the roadmap, and we give it to the school. One thing that I would like to point out here is that this is not an audit, you know, the term audit typically that we use for schools. It's not a hit and run. It's not somebody coming and saying, oh, you know, you're doing this wrong and you need to do this kind of better and differently. It's about collaboration. We like to work together with our school partners, sit with them, have meetings, have deep observations, and work out together what is good for this school, because every school is different and every school's mission and vision are different. So we understand first from the directors, owners, principals of the schools what the school's mission and vision is, and then work towards that. Now, once this is done, we then work on what we call the baseline endline study, which basically means that after the school has had an opportunity to implement the school improvement plan or the impact study plan, we come back after some time and look at where was the school and where are they now. So it's like a periodic measurement that we do, and how far to the dream school. It helps the entire ecosystem to hold themselves accountable, to measure themselves, and to say, okay, you know, I've progressed. And there's a deep satisfaction when you realize and measure and see, I've got ahead of where I was. Now, when we talk of dream schools, a dream school is not possible without happy and successful leaders, right? And I use the word successful very consciously here, not in the typical social sense, but how the leader feels about their own success, how the leader feels about themselves as leaders. So we do have a program for to coach principals, to coach directors, and this is typically just like your corporate executive coaching, which our leaders in schools, I think, you know, I've been academic director earlier of more than 30 schools, and I've seen that the principal and the directors are the last people to get time for their own development, for their own success. It's always about teacher training. It's something to do with learners. It's something to do with, okay, give time to the parents and so on. Who thinks about the principals and the directors and the owners also? You know, the owner directors, the owner principals. So much of pressure that is carried on the shoulder every day. So this program is something that we do in individual and group sessions, one-on-one coaching, just like you do in corporates and you have leadership training. We do one-on-one coaching, and it's not academic training, it is not pedagogy training. It is just about that person's personal mission and vision, and to be a happier person, more connected with themselves. Again, we are collaborative in this approach. Nobody's coming from the outside to say, hey, director or principal, this is who you need to be. No. They know who they need to be, and we are only there to kind of take this out from inside and, you know, help them to go forward. So this is who we are, and you know, the school evaluation and impact study and coaching for success is something that very close to my heart, and it's come out from my own, you know, the pains, and I think the way that we have kind of seen the principals and directors not getting the time to either enhance the school the way they have wanted to, not got sufficient inputs or scientific inputs that they need in order to improve the school, or the owners also. And of course, as I said, for coaching for success, the time and the attention that school leaders deserve. So thank you for your attention. I'm Sharbari. Once again, I'm in stall 2 outside from Big Impact Consulting Group. Thanks again. Namaste.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I would request Ms. Novita Chopra, Director from BLS Group of Schools, to come over stage and felicitate Ms. Sharbari. Can we have a big round of applause for both of them? Thank you, Ms. Novita. Thank you, Ms. Sharbari. Next, I would request Ms. Vibha